What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Lane's Man Cave. And today I'm going to be giving out my Week 4 predictions. Let's go. Last week I did not have a good week at all. In fact, it was probably my worst week for game picks in years, as I went 7-9. But this week, I'm hoping to get back on track, and I'm hoping that's the last week I'm below 500, at least for a couple years. Anyways, let's get started. Thursday night matchup, we got the Cowboys and the Giants. The Cowboys, they nearly came back against the Ravens in garbage time, and the Giants, they somehow beat the Browns. Malik Nabers is looking like a true number one wideout in the NFL. But obviously, the Cowboys are a way better team than the Giants are, so I'm going to pick them to win. Now for the 1 o'clock games. First up, got the Jaguars and the Texans. Jaguars let out an absolute stinker against the Bills. This is just a really poorly coached team. Hang on a sec. Currently watching the Barcelona game. But yeah, anyways, Jacksonville is just a poorly coached team, and I'm surprised they even allowed Doug Peterson and Press Taylor back on the plane. Texans, they didn't have a good week either. Got absolutely blown out by the Vikings. But I'm going to pick them to win this week. And next we got the Steelers and the Colts. Now the Steelers, I was not high on going into this year. And the Colts I was very high on going into this year. Anthony Richardson has not been what I thought he would be, but I'm not giving up yet. It's not even October. I believe this is his 8th career game he'll be going into today. And he still has all the tools to be successful. But this week, I am taking the Steelers to win. Because the Colts have a bad defense this year, especially a really bad run defense. And Justin Fields is one of the best running quarterbacks in the NFL. Broncos and Jets. The Jets are my lock for this week, and they were my lock last week. Even though the Broncos did upset the Buccaneers, I'll get to them later. Now, these are all 4 p.m. in primetime games, so we're moving on to the Bengals and the Panthers. But Bengals, I don't know how, but they're 0-3. And they lost to the Patriots and Commanders, who are both bottom feeders. And the Panthers, they benched Bryce Young, they got Andy Dalton, and he got them to win yesterday. So Bryce Young was clearly the problem in Carolina. However, this week, I am going to take the Bengals to win, but if they don't win, it's time to hit the panic button. Now moving on to this side, got the Vikings and the Packers. Both of them had surprise wins last week. Green Bay blew out Tennessee with Malik Willis, got their second win with him on the season. I don't think Jordan Love's going to be ready for this week. Should see him again. And the Vikings, they absolutely destroyed the Texans. You know what? I don't think they're contenders by any means. However, this week, from what I have seen, I think they move on to 4-0. Now moving on, Rams and the Bears. I don't know how we did it, but the Rams somehow came back against the Niners. I know both teams were severely injured. And as for the Bears, Caleb definitely looked better last week. He did throw 2 touchdowns. And I think this week, against our defense, this is going to be his breakout game. And I think the Bears beat us. I just do not trust our defense. Yes, we won, but we also allowed Jawan Jennings to get 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I don't trust our defense one bit. Moving on, Eagles, Bucks. Eagles, they let out an absolute squeaker. against the Saints last week. The game was 3-0 Saints until the fourth quarter, and then the Eagles won it. I believe Saquon had 2 touchdowns. That dude's looking like the early favorite for Offensive Player of the Year. And the Buccaneers, they lost to the Broncos. Yeah, they lost to the Broncos. And I don't think the Bucs are the team they looked like in the first 2 weeks. I think this is what the post-Dave Canales Buccaneers really look like. So I'm going to be predicting an easy win for the Eagles. Saints-Falcons. Saints are another team that just came back to earth. They allowed nearly 100 points, or they scored nearly 100 points in their first 2 weeks. Then the Eagles shut them down. Falcons, they're looking like a really good coach team, which isn't surprising because both Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson came from the Sean McVay coaching tree. But I'm staying with this. The Falcons are still the best team in the NFC South, and they're going to win today. Or on Sunday, I mean. Now for the 405 window, the Patriots and the 49ers. The Niners, I don't know how we beat them. Patriots, they're really bad. I don't know if George Kittle's coming back this week or Debo, but Niners win no matter what. And now for the potential game of the week, the Chiefs and the Chargers. I know Justin Herbert had that MCL sprain. I know Joe Alt went out last Sunday against the Steelers. I don't know if either one of them are going to play on Sunday. But either way, the Chiefs are going to go to 4-0. And now the Browns and the Raiders. Browns lost to the Giants last week. Raiders lost to the Panthers last week. But I still trust this Browns defense more than anything about the Raiders. So the Browns are going to come back and win this game. For the final 4 p.m. game, it's the Commanders and the Cardinals. Cardinals, they lost to the Lions last week. Commanders beat the Bengals last week. But looking at the Bengals defense, it's really bad. And this is certainly not the same Bengals team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Although the Cardinals are still a significantly better team than Washington. I think they go on to win. Sunday night. This is going to be a really good game. I would not be surprised if this is the AFC Championship. It's got the Bills and the Ravens. The Bills, not so much in week 1, but especially these past 2 weeks, they looked unstoppable. Unstoppable. And the Ravens, they started off slow. They nearly beat the Chiefs, but then they lose to the Raiders. And then they had a comfortable win against the Cowboys. Or they had, but then the Cowboys scored a bunch in garbage time. I think this is going to be a really close one, and I would not be surprised if it comes down to a field goal. But I do think the Ravens eventually come on top. And now we have a double Monday night doubleheader. First off, Titans and Dolphins. It looks like the Dolphins are down to their third string quarterback. Tim Boyle was playing on Sunday after Skylar Thompson went down. But it looks like they just signed Tyler Huntley off of somebody's practice squad. I don't remember whose. And as for the Titans, I am officially done with Will Levis. Done. Not that I was high on him coming out of college, but he is probably the worst quarterback I have ever seen. I'm not going to count guys like Nathan Peterman because they weren't full-time starters, but out of everybody that has a decent a solid sample size, Will Levis might be the worst I've ever seen. Now, for the record, before you start listing your worst quarterback you've ever seen, my first season watching the NFL was the 2016 seasons, so my worst is probably not your worst. But if you want to list your worst, if you've seen Ryan Leaf, you've seen Jamarcus Russell, you've seen Tim Couch, I don't know who else is in that conversation, but if you want to list your worst quarterback, have at it. But my worst quarterback I've ever seen is Will Levis off the top of my head. And I think the Dolphins end up coming out on top. And the second Monday game, this one's going to be a lot better. Seahawks and Dolphins. Seahawks and Lions, I mean. Lions are just coming off a win against Arizona, and like I said earlier, I think Arizona's a really good team. I think that they will be a playoff team this year. Seattle, they had a pretty easy schedule. They played the Broncos, they played the Patriots, and then they played the Dolphins without Tua. I do not think they continued their undefeated streak, so I'm taking the Lions to win. And that's all for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.